It seems like themed impacts are becoming one of TNA's biggest go-to angles, right up there with big heel factions and superfluous gimmick matches, because they are doing these things more and more lately. The theme for this week was this hashtag tag team gold thing, building the entire show around the crowning of new tag team champions. They have a bunch of qualifying matches, all culminating in an Ultimate X in the main event for the vacant tag titles. It's not a bad way to spend an episode, it's something different that is not done all the time, and it's a refreshing change of pace to spend a whole show highlighting a specific division. It makes that division look more relevant than it normally does, and considering the top team in the company just went on the shelf, it's a good idea to do something like this to reinforce that the division is still important even with the Wolves out of action. I don't have a whole lot to say about the qualifiers. All the matches were pretty good, no real complaints. The Hardys winning the titles was pretty telegraphed with that post-match interview, but I think most of us figured they were going to win anyway, and they probably should have, so you might as well give them a little fanfare. However, this means the Revolution lost again, and I really don't know where you go with them from here. The group has lost a lot of steam recently, and that's too bad because I thought the gimmick did have a lot of potential when it started, and James Storm has been really good in this role. But they either didn't have a good plan for it, or other things forced it off track. Personally, I think the death knell for the Revolution was the Beatdown Clan. Once that faction showed up and got pushed into some bigger storylines on the show, you kinda cut the Revolution off at the knees. Suddenly, they were limited with how far they could go. They couldn't get pushed ahead of the BDC, so they just kinda stalled in the mid-card and weren't allowed to really progress anywhere. Fast forward a few months, and any momentum they used to have is pretty much gone. I'm not sure there's much more they can do at this point.
This is how the world ends. Not with a bang, but with a whimper.
You know, I'm really enjoying Anderson and Rockstar Spud teaming together. They've got an entertaining little dynamic between them, they're funny, and they work together surprisingly well. I don't know if I see them as tag team champions necessarily, but in the short term, I'm happy to roll with these guys as a duo to help fill out the tag team division. Though I am wondering where Mark Andrews disappeared to. I like the booking of this match a lot. Anderson and Spud getting some fun double team moves in there. Spud gets several should-be pinfalls on Kenny King and Low Ki. They use dirty tactics to get the win, and Spud does eat the pin, but he's protected. And that sets him up with a new opponent for the X Division title, hopefully, which is another plus. And he's got a feud with somebody for that thing, otherwise his title run is going to turn out just like Low Ki's did. EC3 and Bram versus Tigre Uno and Jay Rios just felt like a simple enhancement match to pad things out. Tigre Uno's a utility player. I don't think anyone expected him to start winning now, and there was no way they were going over EC3 and Bram, nor should they. The match was fine. There were some fun character bits with our Lord of Wrestling EC3 tagging himself in and getting the win for his team, and Bram getting all hot-headed and taking this as him stealing the pin somehow, which was ridiculous, let's be honest. You can't steal something that rightfully belongs to you. And also, you're welcome, Bram.
Shut up and follow me.
I love that the Wet Dream Team / Dirty Heels are back together, and it's already paying dividends. One pre-tape. Just one backstage pre-tape with Austin Aries, and Bobby Roode has his personality back. Them playing mind games with Robbie E was great. They were funny, they were witty, Roode wasn't spouting the same repetitive paint-by-numbers verbiage over and over. Roode seems to show the most character when he has someone to bounce off of like this and help bring that out of him, like a James Stormer and Austin Aries, so I think this is just what the doctor ordered for him right now. And then, the cherry on the cake, the bromance is breaking up.
Yes! 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 Yes!
You know, I'm of two minds on this, actually. If there was any kind of silver lining with the bromance, it's that it got Robbie and Jesse out of the way in one segment instead of making us watch them individually. And I don't know what they can do now. Neither of these guys are good enough to work as a singles wrestler. TNA tried that with both of them and we all saw the results. Personally, I'd like Jesse to continue teaming with Zema Ion, since they always work better together anyway. And Robbie? Well, I don't really care what he does. He can just leave. As long as he stays off my TV, I'm happy. It was pretty strange having this tournament climax with an Ultimate X of all things. You've got an X Division gimmick match where nearly half the guys in it are not X Division style wrestlers, so I didn't know how this was going to turn out. But I thought the heavyweights adapted to it very well. And actually having some heavyweights in there gave them different things to do that you wouldn't normally see in this type of match. They're not really built for it, so they have to compensate in other ways. And EC3 and Bram arguing about who should climb up there because neither of them wanted to do it was pretty funny, actually. I didn't care for the use of the ladder, though. Once upon a time, using a ladder in the Ultimate X was like sacrilege, and there was an unspoken rule that it was something that was just not done. It makes sense if the heels try to use it, especially the bigger guys who would have trouble on the ropes, but when the babyfaces use it, especially to help them grab the belts at the end, that I don't like. That feels kind of shady to me. It's a fun main event otherwise, though. Was it a classic Ultimate X? Not really. But it was very enjoyable. And in my mind, nothing is ever going to top AJ Sabin and Petey anyway. This tournament turned out quite well, and it took up the bulk of the show. So after that, there wasn't much else here. We had the big Knockout Division announcement and the Angle EY stuff. One I liked, the other I wasn't so crazy about. I really want to be able to get into this Kurt Angle Eric Young program, but I just can't. Eric Young has just never had the aura of a top star to me. As a long-shot underdog, maybe, but not as a serious contender. And that only becomes more clear when he's feuding with Kurt Angle. And he's trying really hard to make it work, but at the end of the day, I just don't buy it. When he cut that promo saying that Kurt Angle was ducking him, I laughed. Because it felt like a joke. It wasn't supposed to be funny, but it was. And then Angle killed this thing even more when he said that he didn't want to face this Eric Young. No. He wanted to face the old Eric Young. Really, Kurt? Really? Really? Because the old Eric Young was the guy in the goofy superhero costume, who was afraid of monsters, who fished worthless title belts out of the garbage and thought wearing them made him a legit champion, who was one half of the women's tag team champions at one point. That's the old Eric Young. And all that stuff is why I don't buy the new Eric Young as a believable world title contender. He's just done too much of the clown shit over the years for me to ever take him seriously in a spot like this. And that's not a criticism of Eric Young. God bless him, he found a way to get most of that stuff over, where a lot of other people would have crashed and burned. But it's what I associate him with now. And it's going to take more than a little tough talk, a few pile drivers, and some obvious retconning of his history in this company to change all that. So the big theme for next week's show is going to be all about the knockouts. There's Taryn Terrell versus Awesome Kong for the title, a #1 contenders match, Mickie James making some kind of big announcement, and the debut of several much-needed new knockouts, which can only be a good thing. And it's all adding up to an Impact that TNA are calling TKO. Huh. A Knockouts-themed Impact called TKO. I'm getting the weirdest sense of deja vu right now, and I can't quite figure out why. So, when do I get my royalty check, TNA? Look, sarcasm aside, I'm very happy to see this happen. For all WWE's talk about how they're giving divas a chance, they're really not. The divas get TV matches that last longer than 2 minutes now. That's it. Aside from that, nothing has changed. The divas mean just as little as they did a year ago, so I'm excited that TNA is doing something like this, giving their women a platform to show that their division is actually important to the company for reasons other than some crappy reality show on the E! Network. They have this big promo segment here to announce all this stuff with the whole division in the ring. They all got to talk and show their different personalities and characters, and they make announcements that actually sound like big announcements. It's not just another battle royal for a title shot with everybody in it. Taryn vs. Kong has been built up very well. The debut of the Dollhouse has been promoted with video packages. TNA aren't just talking about giving the knockouts a chance, they're actually doing it. And that's the difference. So I'm really looking forward to this next week. I can't wait to see Cherry Bomb. She's someone that I've wanted to see get a shot on TV for a long time now, so that's going to be great. Yes! This was a good one. The tag team and knockout divisions seem to be getting the attention they need. Still no progress with the X division, but we're used to that by now. The Angle EY stuff is not resonating with me, unfortunately, but I liked everything else that they did here, and I'm excited for what they've got planned for us next week. And as long as I get my royalty check for the TKO idea, everything will be cool. I assume it's already in the mail, right, TNA? Right?